welcome back. This is the Poet is a Human with the Philosopher Dunamis on this week's episode number 34, Fight for Progress. Please be sure to hit that like button on your way in, and if you like us, consider subscribing to keep up with our episodes on YouTube and give us a follow on X.
And Fightcast is here to empower individuals to live healthier, master finances, pursue dreams, and inspire others through self-awareness and global impact. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and not financial advice.
Dooney, I feel like I haven't talked to you. What's been going on, man? You good?
Oh, man. It's been a while for sure.
We don't talk a lot, y'all. Or we talk like almost every day, y'all. So like this is different. So yeah, what's
It's been different. Yeah, I've been busy, man. But it's been really good, and as always, it coincides with what's been happening in what we're going to talk about, of course, tonight. But my time with the boys has been fantastic. We're getting close to the end of July, and we've had a chance to go bowling almost every day. They get these passes, and we go out, we go bowling. They're getting in the backyard and swimming. We're working out, push-ups, the sit-ups, and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, dating has been going well. I've made some really interesting friends here recently, and
good?
it's been really a time, I think, for me to look back and reflect. I've had a couple of days in a row, I think, where I missed workouts, but I've been able to kind of bounce back, understanding that we start every day at zero, and so forgetting about what happened yesterday and just moving on. I feel like it's been a really great time to reflect and think about all the things that we've done since we really started this back in October, November, I think, of last year. And how has your week gone? And is it in any way been as reflective as my week has been?
I would definitely say it's been reflective in a lot of ways, and I've definitely been tapped into my mental state much more these past few days. I've been through a couple different storms, but honestly, man, I have been walking proudly without an umbrella. I'll say that. I've been walking proudly without an umbrella in these storms, and it feels good to just get wet and just let it wash away. And I've been hammering down with the working out. I've been pushing myself, whether it be a couple extra reps or it's just that extra lap, whatever it may be, or just, getting in that zone, getting in that rhythm and saying, hey, I am going to record tonight. I am going to create that visual. I am going to go the extra mile. I am going to post. It's already done. And that's been my big push through. Seen a lot of progress. I've been making a lot of progress.
What kind of I know that we're going to kind of dance around some things, of course, just because not everything's for public consumption, and
Sure.
we both have personal lives. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to lay everything out there, but I know that there's been some really significant things that have happened to both of us in the past week, and
Yeah.
what how has that progress? How has your mindset shifted, especially when you think about what maybe how you would have reacted or how you would have acted out this last week differently than maybe you would have a year ago?
Oh my gosh, dude. Such a 180, and I'm so proud of myself for the way that I reacted. I took my time with this. I had to digest the information, I had to take it for what it was, and I answered it my way. I did it the way that would satisfy my soul and be able to bring people together and not create division. I want to always be able to give healing recipes, and the same things will occur in your life or pop up in your life in different ways. And you have that choice to either wear the same outfit or wear a different one. And this time I chose a different outfit. I put on a different outfit. I still put my pants on the same, but it was just a different outfit. It was a different outlook completely. And it was much more Izzy esoteric moment. And I was just very, very proud of that. And I'm really, honestly, what makes me even more happy is I got to see a community come together today. And with everything that's been going on in the world, even in this small social media platform, there were still hundreds of people that were able to just say, hey, you know what? Here's some love. You're right. That is what we need. It's what we've needed all along. And I'm not a righteous person by any stretch of the imagination. I'm born flawed. I am man. But what I will say, I'll be damned if I miss any more of my blessings.
Yeah, man. I always feel like one of the things that you taught me early on in this podcast that you would talk about a lot that really stuck with me is loving yourself. And we always talked about that. You have to learn to forgive yourself. You have to learn to love yourself. And if you can do that, so much of this other stuff kind of makes sense. And it's that it could be really, really difficult, but I see you loving yourself and choosing to treat other people with respect and love. And that's what life, I really think, ultimately is about. Like the money and success and all of these things. I can tell you, as somebody who I've made a lot of money, and I'm in a situation now where I'm not probably going to make a lot of money for a while. But I know that I will make a lot of money again in the future at some point.
Absolutely.
And it's but it's one of those things where money really is not the goal. And I
Right.
think understanding that it's really relationships. Our life is about the connections that we make, the way that we treat other people. And at the end of the day, that's so much more important than anything else that we could possibly accumulate or do. And in the area of self-respect and relationship and connection with God, I think those are things that like I feel a lot stronger in personally, and I see it in you too, Izzy. And I really feel like that's something that we need to continue to press towards. But it's great looking back and seeing the progress just in terms of, there are so many things that would have thrown me off a year ago that there's just no chance now. There's no chance. Like
At
you
all.
just can't even stop me. And yeah, it's good, man. And I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you, man. And the wealth is in the community. The wealth is in the people. That's the money will come. My favorite artist, Wale, said, and I'll edit just to kids might be watching. F fame, F money, F anything anyone can take from it. And I thought about that long and hard. Thought about that long and hard. Yeah. It just and he said it ain't hard to make money. We just out here, we just trying to be legendary. And we've talked about legacies and all of everything that it takes to build these legacies, the discipline, and obviously the progress that you're making throughout this journey. And yeah, there's no chance now. There's no chance. And let there be storms. Let there be droughts. Let there be whatever it may be. There's just things that are beyond you. And the reason why I say that in its simplest form is I don't know what's going on in Japan right now. They're not even in the United States. So if you look at it from that standpoint, yeah. So how could you know? Oh, they're probably doing something right now. Yeah, well, we're all doing something, probably sleeping, probably awake. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, it just goes back to simplifying this for what it really is. These are moments. Like this was truly a moment. Honestly, this was the best fourth quarter moment I could have had before I turned 34 next couple weeks. I needed this. I absolutely needed this because I feel like before I could go into that next age, this was a test to see where am I at the end of this? Where am I at the end of this era, this 33 era? Like, am I gonna go into 34 with that same mindset that I had, a year ago when I was 33 and still letting those cycles repeat themselves? Or am I going to walk into 34 on some suit and tie and this is my building and welcome to my party? And by the
Hmm.
way, the party's over.
Yeah, it's um it's you have to be able to frame, the your future and your destiny. And I think the thing that we all have to get over is trying to please other people and trying to live out a path that other people have set for us. And the progress oftentimes looks so different because sometimes progress looks like a step back, because there's times where you cut people out, where you have to be confrontational where you've been too nice in the past. There's times where you have to set boundaries where you've tried to please people too much in the past. And so progress also doesn't always look like progress. You know what I'm saying? It
Right.
sometimes looks messy and painful, but it's still progress. It's progress because you're closer to being like Jesus. You're closer to being to that goal, that end result, which is not, it's not money and fame and fortune and all of these things. You can achieve all of those things. You can have anything you want. You can have
Mhm.
anything you want in this life if you just focus on it and put your attention towards it and work hard enough. You can have absolutely anything. But the things that matter, when you go down those paths and you achieve those things, I think a lot of people recognize when they achieve the fame and the fortune and a lot of the other stuff is it doesn't fulfill. It doesn't fulfill like the things that God has for us fulfill.
Man, shifting your focus, ladies and gentlemen, is what Dunamis is saying. Shifting your focus and being able to see those signs, right? For example, when you're in the weight room and you've been say warming up with 225, 225 is getting a little too easy. All right, cool. Throw 10 on there, 10 on each side. Go ahead and keep building up, keep building up. Being able to recognize those little forks in the road and being able to transition, because the answers are they're there because they're things that you've already set for yourself, and it doesn't matter how far in the hole you are or how far up you are, because if you're far in the hole, then you've put yourself there. Just you got to accept that. You got to accept that part first. It's like, hi, my name is Jonathan, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, John. You know what I mean? Like type stuff. So in that sense, you're like, I'm in this hole. So what's the next step? Why am I even asking that question? I gotta get out of this hole. You know what I mean? And then while I'm up there, and I say, all right, well, what do I do next? Well, I gotta maintain.
Yeah.
I gotta maintain. I've been consistent this long. I've come this far. I've built these entities. I've built this legacy. So I think even at that moment, you got to keep building. You got to keep building. So you just enjoy the labors of your fruit. And I mean, really, man, this life is about the life really is about giving, and it's not the materials. Again, like you said, it's not the materials that you give. It's the information. It's the
Mhm.
information. We're living in a world where like this is real life Babylon, where you've got multi religions that are all giving the word to be more holy, and there's still broken language because we're still in this space where somebody has to be right. And at the end of the day, we're all wrong for thinking that, because it's not
Yeah.
about anybody being right at all. It's about just knowing where we're supposed to be at in our core.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, we've got people wanting to teach lessons that they don't even believe themselves. And everything starts from within, man. Everything starts from within. And that's been a huge part of being able to respond in healthy ways in stressful situations, man. Um, you gotta just be able to count your breaths, dude. Count your breaths, and really think in that split moment, how important is this in my life at the end of the day? Because I even like to think about it, and I don't like to think about it too much, but if this person cuts me off, is me speeding up to flip him off and putting myself in danger and everybody else in danger, is it really worth it when I think about this in 20 years? No, it's not.
Not at all. We don't understand what our words and actions do to affect other people all the time,
Right.
all the time. And
Every time, man. Yeah.
and there are some things that you've said about me being a father that I think are very, very kind, but I have to always I'm always hyper aware of it because I haven't always been the kindest person to my kids.
Sure.
And that's one of those things that I think we did talk here before offline a little bit about kids and
Mhm.
father figures and things like that. And I think that it's important for kids they need to be encouraged in the right ways, but they also don't need to have false encouragement. There's, you know, I'm kind of rambling now and going off, but just to the idea that if you praise a child for being intelligent,
Mhm.
that it really doesn't do much for them. But if you praise a child for studying very hard, working hard,
Right.
that kind of praise creates in them a behavior that will allow them to succeed.
Progressively get better.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I didn't understand a lot of that stuff when I was first a parent, but now that I understand it now, like that's one of those things. I think we're always this is life is a process, and we talk about the progress and we talk about seeing how things change over time. And I can tell you that the conversations that I have with my boys now are completely different than the conversations that I had with my boys or my daughter, you know, 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago. I used to try to push my kids to be what I wanted them to be based on my opinion of what I thought they were good at or liked or didn't like. And
Okay.
and I didn't recognize in myself at that time the ego in that. The problem that's my impression of what their life needs, which I mean, even as a parent, we have to equip our children. We have to teach our children. We have to give them everything they need to succeed. And then the best thing we can do is ignite that passion, that desire to learn, and then get the out of the way. You just need to step back and let them go. So yeah,
That has got to be the most rewarding and just that real definition of a 50-50, and maybe not so much a 50-50 and as much as it is a reward to just to see your offspring, no pun intended, a great band, to just see them grow into themselves and to encourage them to, again, like you said, uh, I'm proud of you for working hard and and studying and really taking this serious and just that, even that mindset. Oh my gosh, kids are sponges, absolutely. And honestly, man, I feel like we're still sponges, and that's what I love about it, because this even goes back into episodes where and we both mentioned just feeding that inner child alive, keeping that playful aspect of life, keeping you youthful. And with that being said, comes that sponge, that sponge mechanism, absorb this information to be able to accept information, that, and let that guide you in a way where now you're creating your own mechanisms to navigate yourself in your journey. And that, saying things like that, and just that program is critical, man. It's critical because they know that if they work hard and they study these things and they take that extra time, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is, because they're going to put in the work to see that it's executed correctly. And that is the difference. And I understand what you're saying when you say, instead of narrowing this and saying, hey, you should go be a doctor, or hey, you should go be a lawyer, and these are the things that you need to do this. You've already put them in a box. You've already put them in a box. And then there's a level of anxiety that comes with that, because now if they want to become a firefighter, they think that you're going to disown them. So now there's just that that gap, right? That gap of communication, and then it just creates a whole other thing. So
Hmm.
just even that over time, as you get older and you become more mature, and how you even respond to things, dude, it's crucial. It's crucial. And again, I will say this: you're doing a great job. I didn't know you back then, but I know you now, and I will say this live on air, and I'll at least say it offline. You are an incredible father, man. So and just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, your kids are geniuses in my eyes, so I look forward to seeing somebody do something and end up in the Guinness Book of World Records, or like where one of them's flying a plane. I don't know what the heck they're doing, but whatever they're doing, I just want to be around to see it.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you so much, Izzy. I think that it's a responsibility to future generations to think about these things, and if anything, I yeah, I think I really
He doesn't know how to receive his
I don't
roses,
know how to
man.
receive it. It, it's it comes out of pain. We'll put it that way. So
Okay.
I appreciate it, and thank you. And I think that it's I think that I think that it's important to recognize what we're doing to the people around us, and start off with that personal responsibility. I appreciate everything you've said to me, but I also recognize that, like, it's only because I screwed up so badly at some point in time in my life that I had to wake up and fix it.
Yeah, that's the key right there. You got to fall on your face in some metaphorical way. There's got to be
Mhm.
a aha moment, and there's always that aha moment. There's always that epiphany. There's always that light bulb that you see in the cartoon shows. Those things are real. Absolutely, there is that moment. And gosh, I no, especially there's no book to be a parent. There's no book. There's no right or wrong way. Everybody's different, and you're thinking about even during the times of our parents, and they got married young. You know, those young men were going to war, and they didn't know if they were going to be back or not. So they wanted to have a family in case they never came back. They wanted to carry their name out, but they were
Mhm.
so young. And then let's say they did come back. So now you've got, 21 and maybe, 24, 25. And I mean, yeah, that's still a little young to be raising a kid, especially being gone for so long and seeing the world a completely different way. And now you bring PTSD into the situation. You've got, single parent home, and just that there's so many things that come with that. And when I look at the root, now I'm gonna get on my conspiracy theory stuff, but I'm not gonna get too far. I'm not gonna get too far because I just want to say one thing, and I'm gonna say one thing only: is the root, and getting to the root cause of where any of this even stems from. This whole fight or flight type of experience, and things that we've had even before. And you think about just that yin and that yang, and how that has really affected humanity in general, and how it looks now in the modern day world. So these levels of conditioning that have been instilled upon us, to either to be far left, be far right, and some of us are fortunate enough to really see the middle and to really walk that line, really Johnny Cash it, and ah, you're talking about breaking generational curses, and no pressure at all. But really,
Yeah,
it's man, it's a beautiful, tragic thing at the same time.
there's so many. I don't think there's a single person in the world, let alone the United States of America, that that doesn't have probably any six, seven, eight, nine, 10 issues, and that, or moments. We'll put it that way. Moments is maybe even a better term than issues, because I think that we go through these very significant time periods in our life. It's the hero's journey, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like God lets you fall completely on your face all at one time and then that's it. there's there's times where you fall and you have to pick yourself back up, and then you have to fall again and pick yourself back up. And as somebody who's done that many times, and who knows, I even think the people that seem like they have it all together, we talked about this last week too, the people that even seem like they have it all together, they really don't. They struggle as well.
Oh,
But I can tell you, as somebody who has struggled a lot over the course of my life, it becomes a point where if if you learn how to pick yourself back up by the bootstraps, it doesn't really matter too much anymore. And and if there's any hope in that, I can tell you that as dark as things get, and things have gotten very dark for me at times, there's always a way out. There's always an escape hatch. There's always some place that God puts in there for you to be able to find your way through. And so giving up should never be a part of the conversation. And I say that as somebody who has thought those thoughts, but it's a it is a process, and there's progress. And after all of this, man, and I know that you've heard it in me the last few 2-3 weeks, but my God, I feel so great. I feel so great right now. I feel like there's and it has nothing to do with what's in the news. It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that God has me. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like
yeah,
things are gonna be all right. And we are spreading that message now, brother, you and me.
we
And
are.
there's there's just not much that it's funny because when you were talking earlier, I got reminded of Psalm 118. And there's Psalm 118 verse 6 says, "The Lord is with me, I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?"
Exactly. Sticks and stones, lad. The words of Captain Jack Sparrow.
And I mean, the most that another human can do to you is kill you. And I
Yeah.
hate to say it, but it's really, that's not that much.
When you think about it, when you think
Not if you
about
have
it, when
eternal life, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that, and just gosh, now it's just right back up there, prepared and protected, and everything in abundance. Let me ask you this, just I guess to kind of, how do you measure progress? How, like, what are some ways that you can measure that? And whether it be from a working out standpoint, in your goals, like how do you really break that down and create the equation for progress for the
That's the
people?
perfect question, Izzy, because it really is the perfect question, because it speaks directly to the fact that you shouldn't be comparing yourself to others.
Mm,
Um, I I went bowling today and had a blast. I went bowling with my boys, and there's there was an interesting conversation that came up, and it had to do with the fact that you know I might be able to bowl, and I'm not great by any stretch of the imagination, but I might be able to bowl a 130, and my boy might be able to bowl a 70, right? But he's
mhm.
not competing with me. There's no reason that he should worry about beating my score in bowling, because he has his own high score. He has his own average.
Right.
So when you compete, and that was the conversation that we had, was that when you bowl, everybody has their own score. Everybody has their own goals that they're shooting for. And so don't pay any attention to what anybody else scores in bowling. When you go, you bowl your first game, and whatever you bowled that game, you bowl your second game, and you try and do better than you did your first game, and that's progress. Right? And
Right.
if you can hit your average and do better than your average, then I think that's progress. If you're looking at what you normally do and you can do better than what you normally do, you yourself, that's progress, and that's it.
Mm. I 1,000% agree with you with that. I was just thinking about football, and thinking about what a coach says. Here's your role. Everybody has their roles. Just even in life, roles. It's just you as a human, and you're not here to fulfill any other roles outside of your own. Like, you may wear multiple hats, but those are your hats. And there might be other people that wear hats that are similar to yours, but that's also their hat. So you guys aren't we're really wearing the same hat. You may work in a similar space, but again, you may work in the same office, but there's an IT department, then you've got the financial department, you've got the HR department, everybody's got their roles. So to you gotta know your role and shut your mouth, in the words of the great Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and really
Yeah.
hone that, and rest in peace to late Hulk Hogan.
Amen.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne as well, and we had a gentleman from the Cosby Show passed away as well, and I apologize that I don't remember his name right off the top of my head. But we've had some things, we've had some things going on here in the world as of lately, and even just looking at that, and even how I handle death, and everybody's got their own ways of doing that, but I was just thinking about that, and unfortunately, you know, it's a part of that life cycle, because as life goes, life comes, and just even knowing that, and just knowing that this is all just, you're always just one step closer to something, and you don't really know what that is necessarily. Always on the other side, you just know you're always one step closer towards something,
Hmm.
and I have found that just having faith and always having something to believe in, not out of fear, but because there really is something to believe in, is it's the best thing, and I feel like that's it's really fulfilling. It's very peaceful. It's very peaceful. You know,
When you talk about fear too, and this is something that is always significant in my mind as somebody who's a believer in Yeshua and Jesus Christ,
yeah,
that there are denominations out there. There's Christians out there that focus and emphasize a lot of these ideas and things, and it seems to be very fearful, and they talk about words like hell and things like that, and I'm not going to necessarily jump out and disagree. What I'm going to say is that when I read the word, when I listen to Jesus, 99% of the time he's not speaking fear, he's speaking love and grace, forgiveness. And
right,
so those are the things that I like. I really think that if we focus on the things as they're written in the word, as they happened back then, and not necessarily pay attention to what people have to say because people are wrong,
right,
um, then yeah, man, I think that there's this great opportunity right now in the world, and there's a lot of bad, but at the same time, there's this great opportunity for real revival, the kind of revival that is not necessarily even centered around some religious denomination or even specific religious teaching. It's just there are so many people now that are waking up to the fact that what's been going on in the world is wrong, and the answers are not above, they're not below, they're not from the government, they're not from our parents, they're not from our spouse, they're from within, and they've always been from within. Because God said the kingdom, like Jesus says, the kingdom of God is within you. That's in the Bible. That's not some esoteric spiritual teaching. Jesus said the
right,
kingdom of God is within you. And
right.
so if you can recognize that all the strength and the power and everything of the universe lives right inside of you, you don't need anything. You have everything you need inside of
Exactly.
you.
So simple. So as soon as somebody says that, I just want them to stop. Literally, like what you did, just stop, because that to me is the period. because there's nothing else that needs to be said after that. That is the word. And what happens is we get that. Now, what does that mean? That's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And that's where we get some of that extra, those extras in there that don't need to be added on. And it just needs to be that. It's within you. It's
Mhm.
always been there. It's always been there. You've got you've got all of these elements and all of these things that, that are from nature that are within you, which is why we are one with them. And it's why we need to stay one with that. We need to be more in tune with that, because that's where we're going to be at the end of the day. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It doesn't matter if you get cremated out of this world. It doesn't matter if you get buried in this world. It doesn't matter what. Either way, you're getting spread out somewhere, and more importantly, your soul's going to transfer. And I do strongly believe, that afterlife. I absolutely believe that. I don't feel like this light that's within us just dies. You know what I mean? It doesn't just go dark. And I again, I apologize for getting morbid with that, but I've had a few friends that feel like that. And I really thought about that for a moment. Like, I really took the Green Mile approach and really just like soaked that information in and really tried to feel what that would be like. And man, how cold was it? It was very cold. It was very empty.
The idea once, I think a lot of people that don't haven't had a relationship with Jesus, that don't know God on a personal basis, it becomes difficult, or the idea of heaven or the afterlife isn't quite as simple. But one of the things that I can tell you is Jesus is real. And once you know him, the idea of your soul not existing anymore, just it is incomprehensible. And so if you feel that fire, that spirit, that love, that flame inside your heart, you just know when Jesus says you have eternal life, it doesn't happen when you die. I have eternal life now. I'm alive now, and I'm not ever going anywhere. And so the crazy shift for me is understanding that I can die now. I don't need to wait until I die to be able to go to heaven. I can choose now to live in heaven. I can choose today to live for God, to deny myself my earthly desires, and to do everything that I can do to live in heaven today. And what's crazy is, as soon as you start doing that, all that fear, all that anxiousness, all of the depression, all of that stuff starts to go away. And it's not that it goes away completely. I'm depressed still on a regular basis, but it doesn't hurt the same way because I'm not alive anymore to feel that pain. For me, the ego, once you let the ego die, it's really, when we talk about death while you're still alive, as esoteric as that idea is, we're talking about ego death, right?
Mm.
That's what this tattoo is. I've been crucified with Christ and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. That's the choice. It's the choice. I'm not going to live for me anymore. And so if you do that, you make that choice, that's the beginning of the next step, your next life. That's being born again. So many people think that being born again is a prayer that you speak, and I've recognized now that it really, when Jesus said you need to die and be born again, he's talking about it in a much more literal and depressing sense. You have to die. You have to take all this whole idea that we're here for ourselves, that we're here to be happy and live and just do whatever we want. It's that idea has to die. When that idea dies, then we can finally live.
Mm. That almost sounds culty.
I'll take it.
He said we have to die before we can live, man. Hey, but and I look at it like this too, like the death of the ego, like you said. And I think about Marshall Mathers. I think of the death of Slim Shady, and I think about him being, reborn into, somebody who has accepted the reality of, man, I've been here for a while. I've been here for a long time, and I've created this impact over decades, and impacted a lot of generations. You know, I'm I'm at peace with what happens now, with whatever it may be. And that's, I love that about artists. And when you can hear that growth and you grow with them too, I love that. And that's why, for me, when they talk about, I hear the new artists and I listen to it, but I always go back to the ones. There was a meme today that says, "I have the same 25 songs on shuffle." I am one of those people for sure, because I have music that I listen to that really is a part of my day that helps with me, that helps me further along in what I'm doing. Those words and those sounds and all of those things, and the new songs that, people that are like minded like you, that will send, that hit up, that will then go on that playlist. Like, all of these things are part of my equation for me measuring my progress. And just like even the music that I listen to, I used to listen to some pretty secular music,
Mhm.
and now I listen to a lot of music with, with messages and wisdom and words, and something behind, there's something that has some substance to it, and just because that's the kind of person that I am, that's the kind of music that I love to make. And that's the kind of music that a lot of my friends like to listen to as well. And it's really awesome to have people in that community, and we're all able to share that. So, I even, what I listened to, 5 years ago versus like what I listen to now, classical music here in the morning sometimes, and listening to the birds chirp, or,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I've really been digging this French hip hop lo-fi, really loving that.
Oh,
It's like,
nice.
it's just things like that that just put me in the best mood, and it gives me the best insight to be able to be as creative as I want to be and break those barriers, and to look back on those things, man, because like exercising your mind is just as important as exercising your body.
Mhm.
So I do these little puzzles, these little brain teasers, and all sorts of different things. And it's measured by my memory. My memory's gotten a lot sharper. I've been able to recollect a lot of things, and go back to things for references and all sorts of things. And I
So
love
mushroom
that.
coffee.
Mushroom coffee, dude. And my reflexes, dude, like, just
Oh
even my
yeah.
reflexes are, quick. I just, over time, like with the fasting, you see all of those things, and, closing your eyes a lot, like, what you can hear. It's, dude, life is beautiful, man. Life is beautiful. Like, I'll stop right there. I'm gonna put a pin in where I'm at, because I don't want to get too far, because I feel like, we got to transition a little bit. But I want to speak about animals when we get to the next
Oh
part.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when you're talking about life is beautiful and all this stuff, we have, we I think we've done such a great job tonight of at least kind of staying on topic, talking about the progress and all this stuff, and staying off the conspiracy theories. But I will say that I have, on the conspiracy theories thing, I have been I've been trying as a part of this progress to not put on sunscreen and to go out and spend more time in the sun. I've been doing that a lot this summer. And what's crazy is that I've started to recognize the beauty, the healing that I receive from just going out and allowing the sun to beat down on my back for 10, 15 minutes. And then I'll it's like, yeah, okay, I'm describing tanning, guys. It's not a big deal, right? But
No
tanning, like
biggie.
the idea of going out and soaking up some sun, and it's like I can almost feel the rays, the light, as it penetrates my skin and my cells and brings that healing. And it's just such an amazing thing. And we don't take the time to seek after these things. And it was so commonplace when I was young. And whatever the deep state in the world has done to screw us all up. I mean, so many of us are hurt, we're broken. I think you said something along the lines this week of how many people are scared to love
Yeah,
and do all that. It's just it's there's a big juxtaposition because I see all of that, but then I also see how easy and how quickly it is to turn everything around. If you see it and you recognize it and you start to heal yourself, you start to eat the right things, you start to pray the right things, you start to think the right things, um, it changes so fast.
it does. It does, man. It's almost like it. You start to what's the word I'm looking for? What does Deadpool do? Like when he gets his arm chopped off and then it like regrows, isn't
Does
there
it
like
regenerate kind of?
yeah, like it's like a quicker regeneration. When you like take in these things that were already there for you,
Hmm.
and there's already an alignment with that. There's already a railroad track that will adjust to that. You're not forcing it. You have to be open to it. And what I was going to say earlier about animals is animals all have unique abilities that put themselves in the best or in a better position for survival rate out there in the wilderness. So whether it be better sight, whether it be better hearing, whatever those things are, and just to compare that to us as humans too, and being able to put ourselves in vulnerable positions to be able to utilize all of our senses to come collectively to make that decision and assess that level of stress, right? And I feel that that's very very important too. And just even that that takes time, man. That takes time. But you'll notice it in little things, y'all. I'm very, very big into meditating, and that's just been something. Whether I'm listening to birds or whether I'm able to just shut my mind off
Hmm.
and or focus on my breaths or whatever it may be. I'm very big on that. And just the difference of after you've had your eyes closed for so long and then you open them and then you just see the world completely different every single time. It's a different experience every single time. And to just be able to like walk in and go about your regular day, you just see things different. The reality, looks more like the reality. It looks more like your reality or you see it for what it is. And I think that the more you see these things for what it is, the more true you are, to maintaining, this because this is something that you've built through all of it, man. Like in like really looking at where you're at, and I don't want to say this pretentiously, and I apologize if it does, but I'm being quite literal when I say, in my life, when I think about it, I literally live on top of a mountain. And to me, that's a really symbolic thing.
Hmm.
How did I, after all of this, I made it to the top of something. I made it to the top of something. Like I've been able to boom, 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 boom. And ultimately, this is where I'm at now, you know, literally at the top of a mountain. And that feels dope.
That's
That feels
progress,
dope.
man. That's more than progress. That sounds like winning.
That's a blessing. It's a blessing. But, things can always be taken away from you. But I think that as long as they can be, but they can't be because I think that if you're doing things the right way, God has put you in those positions. Like, those are, you know, there's that accord, right? But that kind of thief in the night and whatever it may be, but God knows.
Definitely, yeah. It's really an interesting process that we all kind of go through, and it's this this journey. I think is it's not only interesting because the way it unfolds is never the way that we expect it to. we
Yeah.
always we always imagine something our future to be some way, and it will never be that. It's always going to be something else. What it is, depending on the choices that you make, can ultimately be a lot better than you imagine. And that's what I'm starting to see and recognize. And that's where, kind of going back to that idea that you spend time with God and he changes the desires of your heart,
Yeah.
is knowing that what he has planned for us is so much better than what we possibly imagine and what we think we want right now. The things that we generally chase after and push for is just, we're fighting over crumbs underneath the table.
Right.
And God's like, here's a booster seat. You
Yeah.
know, why don't you come up here and sit at the table?
There was another meme that I had seen where it was the episode of Fresh Prince of Bel Air where Carlton and Will Smith were the backup dancers for Carlton's sister, and they were dancing. Carlton got a little too carried away, and the meme said, "When God has blessed me so much that I get a little too carried away." Will Smith was the God, and Carlton was the human, and then Will Smith like pulls him back, and it's just like, yeah, you absolutely need to acknowledge your blessings. Like you need to acknowledge God. You need to acknowledge God. Absolutely be grateful for those things. But you also have to keep moving. You have to keep working. There's more work to be done. Don't be like many kings and relish in the gluttony and greed and
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that we've seen empires like just crumble from. We've seen it so many times. We've seen it happen so many times in just people in different outfits. Don't be a fool. And going back to what you said earlier, in the Bible about just it's within us. There's nothing else that needs to be said about that. It's within us. So when we talk about fallen kingdoms, ego, there's
Yeah.
nothing else that needs to be said about that. So although the ego is, I think that the ego is important because it's a way to, again, you got to have some form of an ego to just be like, I know who the F I am, but you also have to be able to tame that fire too, because you don't want to be so into yourself that you're now not able to receive information.
Man, you hit on like two or three like super huge things there, and especially right there at the end was being teachable and staying teachable and humble. But man, the ideas that we can get too satisfied. Like we can look at our progress and be like, man, look at all this way that God has brought me. Like, look at all the stuff that I've done. you
Right.
know,
Right.
and you get satisfied and you stop and you're like, okay, this is good. I'm here. I'm done. And that's not what God wants us to do either. So man, I'm glad that you hit on that before we closed out tonight, just because it's good to stop and take a look at your progress, but you shouldn't just be so satisfied with your progress that you stop doing what it is that God had called you to do.
Right. 1,000%, y'all. You have to keep working. Action, effort. You got to study. You got to work hard. You got to remain consistent. I don't know. I feel like I'm like prepping up a football team going to win the Friday Night Lights. I feel like, come on now and break type deal here. But really, the biggest coach, your biggest cheerleader, these two gentlemen right here in this room, we want nothing but to see the success of others and really take this information and apply it into your life. You don't have to take this as Bible per se, but again, I feel that Dunamis and I make a pretty good duo as far as really being able to break these things down. Because ultimately, it's your choice at the end of the day. But just know, you do have a choice.
You do have a choice. You always have a choice, and regardless of whether you want to say this is the universe doing this for you, or whether you want to say that Jesus Christ has called you to reach other people, I think I think that you're absolutely right. It's just a matter of if you can hear in it our desire to see you do well, then we've hit the mark, because that's absolutely what we want. And I think that we should do this again next week. I think that we've got great other things to talk about, but I think that this was important for us to take the time and kind of reflect. And for that reason, if you made it to this point in the episode, I think you should drop those beers emojis down there in the comments. Clink clink, cheers. We made it this far, and we're still alive.
That we are. Episode 34. We're still alive, y'all. We're kicking.
We're still kicking. Awesome, man. Hey, if we can do this again next week, let's definitely make it happen. I think that it's baked into the schedule, right?
Oh, indeed.
Indubitably. Awesome. Well, I'll see you next time, Izzy, and never give up the fight, brother.
Never give up the fight, brother.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test. Expect nothing less, your check is I'm chess. What's happening next? He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson. He got a new engine from pain, that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill, no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place. I wanna be first, work till it hurts. Dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts. Never waste time, you got one shot, you got one life. Better pop off, what do you like? Make a dream job, no 9-5, no mean boss. Just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me.